Okay. Welcome to the Newmarket Energy and Environment Advisory Committee meeting of Wednesday, July 23rd, 2025. First item on the agenda is Pledge of Allegiance. I'll stand. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. President, we have Scott, Bill, Joe, and Julia, and Lindsay. Okay. First item on the agenda, public comment. Seeing no members of the public, I will open and close public comment at 7:01. So Lindsay, do you update just on the master plan, solar, and
Yep. Just brief updates. So as far as the master plan goes, the energy chapter was reviewed by the planning board at a workshop last month. They had a couple of comments and some revisions, primarily just some language items. So it hasn't been fully adopted yet because the chapters are kind of going to be reviewed, approved, revised, and then on hold until the rest of the chapters get reviewed. So the planning board is working through their workshops to review other chapters over the next couple of months. Bart anticipates that the final chapter formatting and kind of final review for conformance with the vision chapter will be in the late fall, early winter timeframe, and that's when planning board will adopt the master plan or vote to adopt the master plan. So for now, it's just on hold. It was one of the early ones to be reviewed, so there are several other chapters that are still pending review by planning board.
in late fall, you're saying?
Late fall, early winter is what Bart estimates.
Anything on the Sewell well?
Not yet. I updated last month, and for those of you that weren't here, the town submitted a pre-application to the Clean Water and Drinking Water SRF funds, state revolving loan funds, programs, to see if we could get some funding for the project. The review with revision came back with a lot more wetlands at the site than were anticipated, so we're looking at a much smaller array than what was initially proposed for the site. And we have submitted an interconnection application to Eversource for that smaller sized site, smaller sized array. And those are just in review at this time. For the funding, the New Hampshire Department of Environmental Services is reviewing pre-applications now and should be within the next couple of weeks. It usually comes out towards the end of July, beginning of August, the project priority list. So we'll see where the projects rank and if there's a loan with any amount of principal forgiveness offered for the project. And at that time, we will revisit with revision the size of the array and where we're at with interconnect. And that will probably be the time frame when we will want to come present to you folks to discuss what the financing options could be. Right now, we're still kind of waiting for those decisions to see if there are options for that.
You've already submitted to Eversource that?
The interconnection application, yeah, because the review for the interconnection takes like 12 to 18 months. So we put in to get in the queue for review on that.
You haven't said any, how big of how many kilowatts or whatever?
We did for the smaller sized. I want to say it was 100 kilowatt. 100 or 140.
What was the size before the downsize?
460 or so. Yeah.
Almost 500.
This is all like Sewell well. Is that a just one parcel in?
It is. It's where the Sewell well for the water system is on
Okay.
Wadley Falls Road.
Wadley Falls? Okay.
Yep.
I just want to check it out. Where are we? Well, obviously we have to talk about financing, but I think, are we looking to advance this to ensure? I assume it's eligible for an investment tax.
Yeah, we actually just had a discussion with revision earlier this week, and with the changes that are coming with that, we are hoping to advance it and take advantage of that. We did request the funds anticipating that that may not be available. So obviously if we can get it moving in time, then we could benefit from that, and that'd be great. Yep. Yep.
Is it direct pay? Is that the one that, is it it's Newmarket, if Newmarket they finance it, or would you go like third-party sourcing?
Not third party. It would be a Newmarket financed and owned project, yeah.
Is there's like a difference, I'm not super familiar with it, but if you are a nonprofit or like an entity and you're funding, you're paying for renewable energy, or like projects, you can get that 30% tax.
Yes.
Your capital expend. Oh, sorry.
West Coast audience.
What?
That's for the West Coast audience.
Okay, yeah. I'm just curious about that.
Yep. Yeah, and revision has been on top of that and kind of prodding us to keep it moving, to hopefully take advantage of that. It's really just going to come down to whether or not we have financing available to move it forward. So, we will see.
Cool. Is that would that be the first government or town-owned solar project?
No.
Sorry, non-rooftop?
Non-rooftop, yes. We do have a solar array on the roof at the fire station.
Got it, yeah.
So the town does already have one system. This would be the first ground mounted, yes.
Cool. Thanks.
At some point, would like to look at maybe expanding that and maybe having some kind of battery storage down there or something, and just kind of brainstorming at this point, but I had in my notes, and I apologize because I don't remember what the heck it was, but something about the solar smart cohort that you had talked about. Can you fill us in what that is and
Yep.
what it might be?
So the Soul Smart cohort is a group of, I think it was like 34 municipalities that participated with Clean Energy New Hampshire to get some technical resources and review of solar ordinance and regulation. Basically, review existing ordinance and regulation to confirm that the development of solar projects is allowable, and they also reviewed and made some recommendations for improvements to make solar projects more allowable. Currently, in Newmarket, solar arrays are allowed as an accessory use, but not as a primary use. So we are likely going to be looking at making some modifications to allow that in certain areas. I don't know the specifics of that. That's kind of a little more Bart's wheelhouse in the ordinance and planning realm. So Bart and Bridget and I participated in several Zoom and Teams meetings with Clean Energy New Hampshire and their technical advisors to discuss this process. The ordinance and regulation review part is complete, and I believe Bart has reviewed and signed off on that. There's a solar regulation checklist or solar development project review checklist that Bart and Bridget have developed that we haven't adopted yet, but is something that we would look to move forward for planning board to adopt, as well as some model ordinance language. And when I mentioned it last meeting, it was to kind of bring up that we are going through the process of reviewing that language and would be bringing that to the planning board. They're focused on master plan right now, so it's not really a top priority now, but later on this year should be bringing that model ordinance to the planning board, at which point they will likely kick it over here for review of that ordinance language and some maybe recommendations or suggestions. So hasn't been any movement since I mentioned it last month, but it's still something that we're working on and working with the planning department to advance.
So it's really more ordinances, rules, and regulations as opposed to anything, cohort getting together and actually doing something. Okay.
Yeah, the cohort portion of it was already completed with Clean Energy New Hampshire and their technical review team. I think they're still working with several communities to kind of get through a few different things to get a bronze designation, so we could, once we complete those steps and have some model language for an ordinance update, we can get that Soul Smart designation for the town at the bronze level. So that's kind of what we're working towards.
Questions, comments?
I had one, but you may have said it was more of Bart's territory, but distinguishing between accessory use versus primary use and within the ordinance, or I'm not familiar with that, and I'm just naive, so I was curious to understand that better.
Yeah, it's in terms of like a parcel, primary use is residential, commercial, industrial, those kinds of things. Solar arrays can be added as an accessory use, which means it's not the primary use of the parcel, but if you have a piece of land that you want to develop as a solar array, but it doesn't have a house or commercial or industrial other type of use on it, then it could be allowed. Currently, we don't have solar arrays allowed as a primary use. It's just as an accessory use. So you can add solar as a rooftop or ground mount to a site that already has a primary use, but not have it developed as a primary use for solar.
So, for example, the Sewell well.
It's a water system. Right.
Is the primary use? Okay.
Yep.
Interesting.
And with single-family residence, it's a single-family residence, and you can add solar, whether it's ground or roof, as an accessory use.
Is that a common ordinance, or?
For it to be set up that way?
Yeah.
I don't know. I assume yes, because we were not the only community that was at that phase. There were not a lot of other New Hampshire municipalities that have solar development allowed as a primary use. But there are several that are moving more towards that to allow some larger arrays to be installed.
Thanks.
Any others? Okay. Thank you. All right, community power update. So just to reiterate, we are actually the electric aggregation committee as far as the Public Utilities Commission is concerned. And it's our responsibility to make recommendations to the town council on what to do related to community power. I've got some updates. So as of July 1, community power, we have 3,857 accounts. That accounts for 69% of all the Newmarket electric meters. During this past month, we had 5 people that have opted in. 1 person has opted out, and we had 49 new unenrollments. And what that is there's a number of reasons why people unenroll. Somebody moves, somebody else moves in. That new person that moves in does not automatically get put onto community power. They get put up to, they get defaulted back to Eversource. So out of the 5,626 accounts, 1,769 are back on Eversource. So we were, for a number of months, 70%, we're down to like 69%. Okay. So, let me bop to here. Community Power has, Newmarket Community Power has joined with the Community Power Coalition of New Hampshire and 70 other communities to get their power from, Community Power Coalition is the one that actually goes out, does all the hedging. They buy the electricity, make it available to us, so community power. The goal was to have community power supply rates be cheaper than Eversource. That was the goal. And for the first number of months, or until we went live in March of last year, until basically March of this year, we were in fact lower than Eversource, but starting in March, we were higher than Eversource. Community Power just announced their newest rates for the upcoming season, which goes August 1st through the end of January. And what they're, for residential use, the rate is going to be 13 cents, 13.425 cents, whereas Eversource is going to be 11.196. So Eversource is like 2 cents cheaper than us. What does that mean? So also too, in there's other rates there. There's outdoor lighting and small general business. Did I put that in here? Okay. So I took a look at, I have this through basically as of March. I have the data that actual Newmarket electric usage through February 25. I didn't get an update. So I looked at all the, basically I ignored March, but April through whatever, I took, well, you know, what is the average monthly kilowatt hours, and then divided that by the number of residents that we had as of March. As of March, we had 306,3699. Okay. CPCNH's rate is 13.41 cents. Eversource's, CPCNH's rate is 13.419 cents. Eversource's rate is 11.19, a difference of, 2 cents, 2.22 cents. Dividing the number, the average monthly use by the number of people, we come up to the average home tech average is about 514 kilowatts a month. Okay, so this will mean a roughly $11.47 increase per month compared to the Newmarket rate. Okay. So we're sort of locked in to this upcoming rate that goes from, like I say, August through January. But I think it's maybe for this committee to think about, do we move on from community power and maybe shop around, recommend to the town we move away from community power and maybe look at some other alternative brokers. Okay, we can do that. Comments, thoughts for guys?
It's always a dilemma to find the brokers who are the most environmentally friendly, but they're also the highest price.
Yeah, there are a number of talking points that Community Power has given us. One of them, is that we offer, through Community Power, we offer cleaner levels of clean energy. 33%, 50%, 100%. Eversource doesn't do that. The feeling is that Eversource's rate of 11 cents is under, they will under collect again. They've under collected this last month, this last rate period, and that they will under collect again. Eversource had been working with the Public Utilities Commission to basically said that if we under collect, this would be Eversource, Liberty, and Unitil, the electric suppliers. If they under collected, that they would be able to recover those monies through stranded costs, or the delivery charge side of it. And it would not only collect it from Eversource customers, but they would also collect it from Community Power customers. So in other words, Newmarket would be getting like a double whammy. We're paying a higher rate, and then we're also paying for Eversource people. In June, beginning of June, the Public Utility Commission killed that and said, no, you can't do that, which is good. So Eversource will not be able to collect their under collections from Community Power customers. And the feeling is that two things. One, that they underestimated, or their rate of 11.19 cents. And also, too, they don't offer thing. So my gut feeling or my suggestion is that, okay, we continue on for this upcoming cycle, which goes from, like I say, August through January. And we take a look at what the next rates are going to be. And the feeling is that Eversource at that point, because they've gone at least 2 cycles under collecting, and their under collections were in the millions, literally. There was like 6 million that they under collected on their large customers, and I forget how much they under collected on their residential customers.
So they can't do that forever.
Right. So the feeling is that they're going to recover in that the next cycle, that our rates will be cheaper than Eversource. We don't have a lot of overhead.
You know, you're expecting Eversource will probably have to go up.
That's correct.
So let's wait and see.
That's correct. So, what else is it? So that's my thinking, thoughts.
Yeah, I agree
That
with
will
that.
continue another month, and
What other alternatives are there for utilities?
there are a number of brokers out there, and the concern with the brokers is that you have to, a lot of times, have to commit to a longer term. So that would be my concern, that, we commit to a broker. He's cheaper than Eversource right now, cheaper than Community Power right now, but then, the next cycle, Community Power is cheaper, and we're locked into that.
I know there's. I don't want to cut you off if you have anything to say. No? Okay. No? You're good? Okay, sorry. I was just going to say, I know in the master plan there's at least some discussion around supporting residential rooftop solar. This could be an avenue or an alternative to, if I don't know what's in Newmarket's budget that would be able to support, to encourage more residents to go to get rooftop solar. But given that the ITC, the investment tax credit for residential solar, is being sunsetted, I think it's September 30th, for residents. I don't know, you might know. Anyway.
I don't know about for residential. I think it was if it's in construction before December, I don't know if it's December 31st, I assume, end of the year, 2025. And in construction means construction materials have been purchased. Yeah.
It's different for utility scale stuff than it is for residents.
Than it is,
I
okay.
believe the residential tax credit is, you
And
cannot get
September.
it unless you've purchased your system in some form or other by September 30th. Meaning, I think there's going to be a massive drop in rooftop solar purchase, which
There is an ordinance on the town that if you add solar to your rooftop or whatever, it doesn't increase the value of your house, okay, so you get to deduct that, so that's kind of like a little, not much.
we would need to do more if we were to compensate for that 30% reduction.
Now that, it's a naive question probably, but, so when you say, you add solar, but many of us, like, I have Sunrun, I've had it for many years, so that's, I do not pay for that installation, that's free, and then Sunrun, I pay my electric bill to Sunrun.
Mm-hmm.
And in fact, I pay almost, on the average year, nothing to Eversource except $15 a month for connection fee. So is there a tax credit for that I have not been taking advantage of?
If it's already installed, I don't think so, because the
thought
way it
so.
works, it's it's an investment tax
Yep.
credit, so it's the money that you put into the project up
Yeah.
front. So
And of course, in a
Sunrun
case
probably
like that, you're not actually putting anything into the project.
right. Sunrun probably did it. That's why typically they if you weigh the different options of buy the system outright, finance it, or lease it, which might be what you're doing.
Right.
If you lease it, then the leasing company is the one that takes.
That's what I thought.
They'll
yeah.
pass on the benefit to you through
Yeah,
the
yeah.
monthly fee that you pay
Yeah,
them.
yeah,
But but yeah, it's once your system's installed, I
Yeah,
think it's too late.
yeah. Well,
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
only eligible in the year year that you make the capital
Yeah,
investment.
right.
So when you
And it-
file your taxes for the
Yeah,
year.
it can't be a leased system.
Right.
Many people have, that's what I thought.
Yeah.
I'm not sure a friend of mine didn't miss out because he just installed it recently, but
Yeah.
it's
I just signed
it's
up.
also Sunrun.
Yeah. I was gonna ask, do we have a sense of, I mean, I'm sure we do, of the percentage of residents that are renters that have no control over whether they would pursue solar?
Probably, it's almost 50% of the town residents live in HOAs or apartments compared to single-family homes.
I do not know that number, but I know that that number is available. I think it's in our, like, the town demographics, that the Regional Planning Commission has a snapshot, has that information, based on census.
Okay. I mean, we could look at the 50%, and then I don't know if we could figure out, we could do it from a rooftop analysis, how many residents have solar and how many are eligible or would be interested. I don't know. It's a long shot sort of solution, but
I do monthly, or annually, I get an update from the code enforcement guy, I forget what Dave Evans says how many solar systems were actually installed during the year.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so we do have that, we can get that. One of the things about community power that was attractive was that, we have a fair number of apartments and condos where they can't do solar. Community power offers 30% renewable, 50% renewable, 100% renewable, allows them to participate and get clean energy, without having to go the solar panel route. So that was one of the attractive things about community power too.
yeah.
Unfortunately, here in Newmarket, like 99% of the 99.1% opt for the basic, which is the minimum. 0.3% have Granite Plus, which is 33%, 0.3%. So it's roughly, maybe 9%, 10% of 10% of 1% have opted for a cleaner energy. Again, I think it's a cost type of thing.
For sure, yeah. I mean, I'm out of my depth here, but the cost of living in Newmarket's pretty high, and for renters especially. Just to afford to live, they're going to cut costs where they can, and it makes sense. They're going to use the cheapest electricity.
Again, I guess that's where community power stands right now. My recommendation is that we go through this update cycle, this next cycle, and then we take a look at it after that. We have a cost-sharing agreement with them, how much they put into Newmarket, and I don't know, we may have to, if we were to withdraw, there may be a penalty. So we'd have to take a look at that too.
The next cycle and
Yeah. Okay.
What is Peterborough doing differently than everybody else? It's causing it to be flipped.
To be, because they have a higher percentage of people, what?
Yeah, like what are they doing that's like, is it cheaper? Is it like a lot less expensive?
No, I believe Peterborough is, okay, another thing about the rates, yeah, Peterborough is Eversource as well. They may have something else in there, but I'm pretty sure they're Eversource as well. No, it's just
That's so significantly different than everyone else.
okay, okay, sorry. Peterborough, we have this option where we can have an adder fee added to the rate. So Newmarket could basically say, okay, the rate is 13 cents. We're going to add half of 1 cent to the rate, and that money is going to come directly to Newmarket.
Yeah.
Peterborough did that. They have a adder fee, and they're collecting that. That's why that's this local option.
Yeah, it's high.
So is the local option not CPCNH?
It's still, they still get the electricity from CP&H. It's just that the rate that people in Peterborough pay is one half of 1 cent more than what you would get in Newmarket. Newmarket doesn't have the local rate. I think there's about 5 or 6 communities that have opted. I think Durham is one of them that may have opted for the, no, I guess I didn't. There's a handful that have opted for that higher rate. This was in the paper.
It did seem to push more people into the Clean 100, though.
For Peterborough?
Yeah, yeah. Although it might be different. Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's all I've got for the community power. All right. Next thing is, next Friday is the Backyard Bash. We're gonna have it.
Backyard Bash is, everything's going great. We're right on, we have everything ready to go. Activity sheets for the kids, crayons, writing utensils, all that. I'll be ready to set up, like if you want, I can like pick up something at like 4:30 I was thinking, like if it starts at 5, is that too late or too early?
Get the information from Amy. As soon as I get that, I'll pass
Okay.
that on, what time to show up, where our tent is actually gonna be.
Yeah.
You haven't seen Amy's thing yet, have you, by chance? Yeah. Yeah, she usually, maybe by Friday we might have it, or
Okay.
beginning of next week.
Alrighty.
So I've got the tent, I've got the table. I'll have a tablecloth that has the Newmarket logo on it.
Nice.
I've got 24 Newmarket water bottles. So there'll be, while
Excellent.
supplies last.
Okay, those will be the prizes for the trash. I already have the trash collected. Yeah, so, you know, activity-wise, we're all set.
Okay.
Yeah, and prizes, we got temporary tattoos for the kids of little trash trucks and recycle things, little recycling trucks. So the kids will be happy. And the adults, at least 24 of them will be happy. The ones that win.
Lots of license.
No, I'm sure the other ones will be happy as well. But yeah, how about like a banner for the back?
I have like a community power one, but we
Okay.
could flip it around. You said you could draw, I can deliver that to your house. Can you
Yeah.
draw something on it, or
Yeah.
do some artwork on it?
Yeah,
You can-
sure,
Okay,
I can do that.
all right. What's your address?
22 Dame Road. The house is kind of hidden behind a bunch of trees. So it's kind of like we share a driveway with our neighbors. Our house is on the right, but it's behind a whole bunch of trees, so it's well hidden. Just drive right in.
All right.
Be all right.
I think I'll get your phone number. I'll give you a call before I come over.
Okay.
And then I'm coming over. You're around tomorrow?
Yes.
Okay. Yep. We can do that.
Okay, great. So everything's right on schedule and things are looking good.
Okay, and I gave you a bunch of flyers for the.
Yeah,
you've
so I'll
got
bring those as well.
Okay. All right. And I can print off that.
Yeah, I don't know how many
Recycling.
kids to expect. We have about 100 of each activity, so I don't know, how many kids usually go?
There
Do
was
we
there was a
know?
lot of kids there, but the tents that I've had in the past, we've had really were more for adults. So it was, if this
Okay,
something that kids.
okay, very good, very good. We'll see what happens. I think it'll be successful.
Anybody think of anything else that we want to do?
I haven't been to it before, but I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah. They do have a beer garden.
Nice. Oh yeah, deciduous, right?
Okay. How about, what do we want to do for, any other comments on the Backyard
No.
Bash? Okay. For upcoming meetings, do we want to meet in August? Do we think there's something to cover in August, or?
Has attendance been about this regularly? I've missed the last 2 meetings, so. Pretty light.
This is good attendance compared to the last couple. We actually have a quorum.
Oh, nice.
I believe the planning board has appointed somebody. I don't know.
Great.
And I don't know about the Conservation Commission, whether they have appointed somebody. And we have one opening Ellen resigned, and I did have somebody that was interested in, I haven't followed up with them, and so I don't, she, my gut feeling is she's really not interested, so. If you know of somebody that's,
Just a member, looking for one additional member, is that
yeah,
right?
yeah,
Okay.
an additional at-large member.
Sounds good. I can.
Do you know of anybody? Do you know of anybody?
Is George still an active member? Or-
Yes, George is still on. He's been
Busy summer, I'm sure.
traveling too and stuff.
Yeah. Okay. And I know there was it was another meeting that I missed, but there was discussion around like appointing like a chair and secretary. Is that still?
Yes, I'm doing the acting chair. If anybody would like to take over the chair, and if anybody would like to take over doing the minutes, that'd be great. You want to volunteer? Okay, cool.
Let me think about it. Yeah.
Anybody
My
like to
attendance
do
is
the
poor.
minutes?
I could try. Yeah. Do you just kind of recap them at the end of the meeting, basically?
Yeah, really, just, you know, who was there and
Yeah.
if we do any actions, and then just kind of brief 1 or 2 sentences of what was discussed.
Yeah.
It really just has to supposedly, and you can go on too, also like YouTube or the town thing and listen to it. And
Yeah.
maybe on YouTube, we can actually print out a transcript.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
So you want to be chair and take the minutes?
I'll do minutes.
And then I'll be the vice chair, and you know, if you're not even, you know.
Yeah, I do think my attendance is going to continue to be like pretty intermittent, just with work travel. So I don't want to be.
Well, think about it.
Yeah, I will.
Then also too, I think one of the things I want to get back into is recycling. What can we do about recycling? You know, I think we kind of talked about it a little bit. I think one of the things that was thrown out is maybe just recommending that they have a separate area for aluminum cans or something. You know, we probably have to talk to Rick about that and whatever. And also too, the trash bags. You know, that seems to be. I see that on Facebook every now and then. Why are we doing this? Why are we doing that? I think Rick, the Public Works Director, has in mind it's in the not too distant future that instead of having the bags, there's going to be the barrels there that in the truck be automated. The truck comes in and takes the barrel that way. But I think there needs to be some discussion about, okay, how do we pay for that, or you know, whether we need some kind of bag system still, or
There's some questions at the end of that nice presentation that the recycling company gave us about really how recycling ought to be done. You know, they had different ideas about what is most acceptable and what we would find on, you know, the original rules that the town sent us. So, you know, like white cardboard stuff is great, and you know, white containers, plastic containers from the Chinese restaurant are great, but the black ones are not so great and hardly even worth it, maybe, and a whole bunch of things like that were new information for me.
so again, it's an education type thing. And, you know, how can we
Include, I mean, first,
how can we get that out?
I wonder if would they send us some guidelines about what they would prefer?
Yeah, we have that.
Yeah, we do have that. Isn't it on the website? Are you talking about the current stuff that's on the?
Yeah, but that's not quite up to date according to the presentation, is it? Or is it? Remember that presentation they gave us?
Yeah.
I thought that conflicted some with what's on the website.
I think so currently, for the town website, there's very little. The Casella website has a lot of resources.
Okay. You're thinking of the Kinsella
So
website.
We could look at sharing some of those
Yes,
resources and
yes.
PDFs that Casella has, whether that's posting around town hall, or if you want to hand out flyers
Yeah,
at the
I mean-
backyard bash.
Are
That's
you
some
saying that that their website is not consistent with what's on the Newmarket?
No, I don't know. I
one?
haven't checked that recently, so I haven't checked that.
Casella was a lot more detailed.
Right,
Yeah.
yeah, Casella has more resources and information than the town
And that's in the
website has.
flyers to the Casellas. So again, just let's start thinking about what we can do. I will say one of the goals that the town council has set up for this upcoming year is somehow bringing in interns or whatever, improving communication with bringing in people. And I thought this committee might be a good one where we can somehow, work with the school, their group of kids that may be into recycling or whatever, environmental causes, and we can say for the town council, yeah, we're doing that. Town council could say it's doing what they want to do through our committee. So just stuff to think about. Okay, next meeting. I don't know, we kind of agreed that we would go back to the fourth Wednesday of the month. In this case, it'd be August 27th. I don't know, I don't know if we really have much to talk about in August. If you'd like to.
I'd love to talk about recycling more. I don't know what other.
Yeah,
Okay, all right. Why don't we plan for August 27th, next meeting?
Okay.
And,
I think I'm gone.
okay. Next meeting, and one of the agenda items would be, okay, pick up we can review what happened at the backyard bash, good, kind of like a debrief and what worked, what didn't work. What we do better, and then also talk about recycling and anything else?
I was just gonna on the information about recycling on the town website. Is there a reason that it's so limited, and is that something that could easily be improved?
Yeah, that's
Easily be improved.
Sorry.
That can easily be improved,
Yeah.
yes. And if there are specific resources, I mean, I know Casella has stuff because when they came, they shared some of that. We could add and share some of the things that Casella's already created, or if this committee creates things, we can add it to the website to share that information out.
Okay.
People like me, I much prefer to have a piece of paper I can stick on my refrigerator or my bulletin board than to have to go on a website. I don't know, it's just probably because I'm old. I'm used to that stuff, but I wonder if Kinsella would think that it is in their best interest to pay to distribute a written something to all of the residents suggesting the best way to recycle, because they are losing money by not having it done properly. And it seems to me that they might be willing to get the information out there and pay the postage and all that.
Like,
and do the mailing.
refrigerator magnets or bookmarks or anything
Whatever,
like that.
something that's, I mean,
Physical.
depending on how complicated it
Yeah.
is, but something that's easy to post, so you can, and for me, I would just say, oh, whoops, no, I better use,
Yeah.
Otherwise I gotta go on a website and print it out and find something,
That's a good
many of
idea.
us, including me, are too lazy to do that. And if I got something from Kinsella, I would think, oh, well, this is official, they really mean it, it's important to them, and I'd be more likely to follow it.
To try and get something from Casella
Can we ask them
for
to do that?
Friday? Next Friday?
Yeah, I'm sure it's next
Too late.
Friday is too late.
Yeah.
But, and we've got, a whole bunch of their flyers of,
Okay.
they passed out so far.
Yeah, maybe we could ask them to do that, to make a mailing.
I can ask them,
I
yeah.
think that's a
Hey,
reasonable request.
Hey, if we had, if we set up some kind of, notice to Newmarket residents, would you pay for a
Yeah,
mailing?
yeah, send this out to everybody that you collect from, and probably it'll save you some money,
Mhm.
because you're getting less junk and more good stuff.
When we were doing community power, and we had the public hearings, one of the public hearings, we sent out a mailing to everybody, and we had a lot of people come to that meeting. Then for the other meeting, that was really just stuff we stuck out on Facebook and the website, and we didn't get as very many people. And at that meeting where we had a lot of people, I asked them, how did you learn about this? And they said, oh, because of the mailing that we got. So mailing is definitely a much better way of getting the word out than Facebook and the website.
So, yeah, make that argument to them, and maybe they'll foot the bill. That'll help.
And the town does have they've entered into a contract with some kind of public agency or publishing agency or public, what do you call it there? A PR type firm. And the town manager said, we can use them anytime we want. Just let him know what it is that we want to do. So maybe we could have a discussion with them as to how can we get.
Yeah, if someone doesn't want to do it, maybe we can do it through that somehow. Okay, good.
Maybe I can see about getting somebody from that group to come talk to us at our next meeting, see, what they suggest we could do. I'll see. Okay. Anything else? No? All right. You're gonna be there the first and.
Yeah, I think I spoke to you.
Yeah,
I'm gonna
we
try and get there for
communicated via
5:30.
email. Yeah.
Oh, just the backyard bash.
Oh, yeah, the
backyard,
yeah,
Yep.
of course, yeah.
Well, look forward to seeing you all there. I'll be there too. Unless anybody has anything else, consider us adjourned.
That's it.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Joe.